Today's episode, the fourth song, I Make My Own Drugs. I obviously don't, in case you don't know, because it's metaphorical. And boy, did I get a lot of backlash for this one, because people didn't get that. But it's something we will go into later on in the episode. For now, I would like to talk about the history of this thing. I consider it to be a sad song, and I consider it to be a good song. But this was actually the second one I recorded with the program BandLab, and it's the one that I started to realize some of its flaws. Because this one could have easily been recorded with GarageBand and would have been a lot better, in my opinion. I think I actually even polished some things in this one in GarageBand. I believe one of the solos was in GarageBand, and then I added some more synth tracks towards the end. But there's a lot of things I don't like about it. The bass at the beginning is one of them, and I just, when I had already read it out by the time I was gonna fix things up, and I couldn't change the bass, so I just left it. And I still kind of mad about it, because you can obviously tell it's slightly offbeat, which again is because of the input delay that I experienced with BandLab, which is why I don't even care if there's a way to fix it. It was just way too finicky for me, and it is the reason I'm never coming back to that program ever again. Among a lot of other things, but basically that's the deal of it. I specifically remember coming up with this name after some sort of party. I don't remember exactly when, but it basically, what that phrase means, I make my own drugs, is not what you would expect at all. It's rather just making your own happiness, if you get that. Because in my mind, a drug can be seen as a lot of different things, but the base of it is basically just something that is addicting, maybe not easy to get your hands on, but easy to use and quite bad for you. Something that makes you feel good, but is quite bad for you. And as of writing this song, I realized that the best thing to frame that on is just whatever you consider to be your own drug. And it's kind of where that thing comes from. I make my own drugs. I don't need to drink. I don't need to pleasure myself with all of these other things that exist in the world. I can make my own drugs, and those drugs not necessarily being the general drugs you would think of, but rather just what you consider to be your good thing, what you consider to be what you need to survive. But that doesn't mean you should use it, or rather, that's not the message of the song. And it's here my writing gets a little convoluted, and I really like it because it's not encompassing you to follow it, or rather, it is not reflective of what I think. Like every other song on this album, this is not reflective of what I think, or rather, it is acting like somebody else. The character in this story, this is what he thinks. He thinks, I don't need to care about anything. I don't need to take in anything, live any which way that people have chose for me. I make my own drugs. I can live all by myself and not give a shit about anything and just exist. And I feel good about it in the start. But it's really interesting because as the song continues, as you go through these solos, in the end you see the lyrics change quite drastically. In the beginning you hear him saying to himself, I don't need to drink, I make my own drugs, and my life ain't perfect, but it's better than yours. And then in the end, it's actually changed from my life isn't perfect, but I think it's better than yours, showing that he has actually grown through this and is now realizing that he might have been wrong. He's now realizing that maybe there is a better life out there. And this is following over from the last song, because if you remember Tell Me What You Know was about him being lost in the world, and now I believe he's stuck in some sort of state of denial. He thinks, I've solved this now, I can just do this forever, and because it feels good, it's addicting, and I like it, I can just keep going. But like any other drug in the world, that's obviously not the case. When it comes to the backlash, I find it very funny. Because the big one in this one is obviously me saying without question into the mic, why waste your life on love when you can jerk off? People find that line so goddamn funny, and I don't know why. I remember putting it down for the first time. I just thought to myself, all of these other artists have so much freedom in what they say. And like there's so many songs with a subliminal messaging. Like I believe Dancing With Myself was a big one that I was listening to at the time, and I just thought to myself, this is basically about masturbation. Why can't I just mention it myself and not think too much about it? And now I know, because you can't just mention that and not think too much about it. But it's very interesting, because in the song it plays a somewhat important role to show this, because once again, it's not reflective of me at all. It's just like this guy shows he's given up on everything. Why care about anything when you can just do this and that and it feels the same way? It's not like a personality disorder or like a psychopath or anything. It's just like apathetic and emotionless. Like, I don't care. When I can do this and it feels the same way, why even care? And for me, a lot of the things I sing in the song, a lot of the things that are in these lyrics mean the same thing as that one. Why waste your life on love when there's masturbation? But it's the thing that's... I don't know, maybe it's just that's funny to people. Maybe it's just that. And to be honest, I would agree that it is quite funny to come up to me and quote, why did you say this? Is this something that you think? Which it isn't. But it's definitely something that I feel like a lot of depressed people would think. A lot of people who have maybe tried in love and failed would think.